Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to the Battle of the Masterpiece Albums here on Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. Yep, we're down to the finals, guys. Finally. What is it, 20 weeks? I think it's 20 weeks. We had 4 semifinals and 15 regular rounds, and then 1 finals, which is this. So the albums that won each of the semifinals are going to be participating today in the finals. Some surprises here. I think at least 3 of these albums I did not expect to make it to where they are. The one album I thought would be here for sure, but so it's been, I don't know if you can draw much of a conclusion. I think the first round, my conclusion kind of was that my nostalgic feelings about the albums were true for the most part. But in the semifinals, I would say my nostalgic feelings for the albums weren't what I thought they would. But here in the finals, we're going to find out how I feel about it. So basically, for those of you who haven't watched any of the other episodes and are just coming in here for the finals, and there's people that do that, they like just the final part. They don't want to hear all the build up to it. We've taken the 4 best albums from each of the semifinals, and I've listened to them all this week. I gave them a score that I think was fair for the day, based on how I felt about them that day, how I felt about them nostalgically, how I felt about what I heard, what kind of energy they still give off to me, and then I rated them based on that. So what I'm going to do is the way I always do this. I'll give you the 4 albums first, then I'll talk about each of them, and then I'll give you my ratings. So the first album, of course, is Styx's Equinox, or Equinox if you prefer, released in 1975, their last album with John Kulowski on guitar, on one of the guitars. Sorry. The second album is Styx's Pieces of 8, released in 1978. Has been, for the past 5 years, my favorite album. So the first 2 are both Styx albums. Then we have a Jethro Tull album, the Songs from the Wood. I discovered this album in 2006. It very quickly became my favorite Tull album and has remained so ever since. And the last one, Rush's Fly By Night, their first album that I ever actually listened to in its entirety. I never owned it until later, but it was the first one I listened to in its entirety several times when I rented it from the library at the time. This was released also in 75, same as Equinox. The Jethro Tull album was released in 77, so we have 2 75s, a 77 and a 1978. So 70s dominated for this, not all that surprising. So now we're going to talk about each of the albums. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them because I've done talks on them in the semifinals and for the most part a little bit in the original first round as well. So all of them have had at least 3 discussions here, so we'll get on to it. So we'll do them in reverse order that I just gave them to you. So Fly By Night, their first album with Neil Peart, of course. One of their best album covers, I think. I like the blue-white combo here. It suited me back in those days. Every song on here is good. There's some songs that are fantastic. Anthem, Bytor and the Snow Dog. Stuttered there for a minute. The 2 big songs on the album for me. At one time, Fly By Night, Making Memories would have been up there as well. I just faded over time. And then, of course, Best I Can and Beneath, Between, Behind. Also very strong songs for me. Have always been there, are still there. The final 2 tracks, Rivendell and In the End, I never was as huge a fan of those 2 tracks as the rest, but I did like them at periodic intervals. So Fly By Night coming here today. Next up, Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood from 1977, I believe. Yeah, 77. Every track on here is great as well. It's very similar to Fly By Night. Very, just not really anything weak. The bottom 2 tracks for me are probably Pip Rock and Fire at Midnight. Both good tracks, but not as good as the other 7 tracks on the album, which I like a lot. Especially Ring Out Solstice Bell, Hunting Girl, Cup of Wonder, and Jack in the Green. These are all fantastic songs. The Songs from the Wood was the one that kind of led me to this album first because it was the one I knew from my master's collection. And yeah, so a fantastic album. I think Ian Anderson's vocals are right at their peak here. And pretty much all the instrumentation, this is Jethro Tull peaking to me instrumentally. The drums are fantastic at times. The bass is great. Keyboards are good. And Martin Barr's guitar playing, absolutely astounding. So great. So that's my Jethro Tull Songs from the Wood. Next up is the Styx Pieces of 8 album. This one from top to bottom is pretty much a masterpiece. The Message and Aku Aku are the two weak sisters. They're just small instrumental parts and basically put in here to kind of connect the album at different points, and Aku Aku finishes off the album. So really good. All 8 of the other tracks, absolutely top shelf Styx stuff. Love them all. Some a little bit more than other. Queen of Spades and Renegade are actually killer tracks for me here today. Pieces of 8, fantastic. Lord of the Rings, of course, another kind of progressive rock special. And then the opening tracks, Great White Hope, I'm Okay, and Sing for the Day, all really upbeat, up-tempo tracks. Love them all. So this is Pieces of 8 from Styx. The other 4th album is also a Styx album, Equinox or Equinox. Some people prefer it that way. I've always called it Equinox, but there are people that don't. So 8 tracks in total, including Prelude, which is a small bit to set up Sweet Madam Blue. This is a great album. The first half of the album, Light Up, Lorelei, Mother Dear, and Lonely Child, more I guess you would call these more pop-oriented songs. Yeah, I would say the 4 of them are kind of more. So you got more of a poppy side here. At times a little bit on the heavy side as well, but really catchy vocal pop songs, which I love all of them. The backside much heavier and much more melodic, much more progressive in nature. Midnight Ride, really heavy JY vocal song. I love this track. Born for Adventure, probably one of my favorite, most underrated Styx songs. It kind of bangs along, same as Midnight Ride. And then you have Prelude, which kind of sets up Sweet Madam Blue, which is the epic progressive rock song on the album. Yep, so absolutely killer. Love the album cover. I have to say I love all 4 of the album covers. This is probably the weakest of the album covers, but not necessarily bad. So I'm going to put them in the order that I rank them now, just for final. And what we'll do is we'll give them to you in the reverse order first. The one that finished 4th will come first up, and then so on until we get to the winner of this. I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go because 3 of these albums I didn't expect to be here, and they were there. So the ball is rolling, right? So this album that came in 4th, I thought it was going to do better only because it surprised me a couple times. And but it's going to come in 4th. It didn't have as good of a listening to today as some of the others. I think it's a great album. I've already said everything I can say about it. For this to be a 4th in any category shows you the strength of this group of albums here. So Equinox, Styx, coming here at number 4. Number 3 may surprise some people. I'm expecting there to be a little bit of a surprise here. Rush's Fly By Night. Love this album. It had the same kind of issue as Equinox today. It didn't have quite the kind of impact on me as it did in the earlier rounds. I still love the album. I still think it's one of the greatest, and I love the color scheme as well as the album and the owl on the front, of course, because I'm an owl fan. So Equinox going to come here. Fly By Night's going to come here at 3rd. Is edging out Equinox by a few points, nothing major. Next up, so we got the bottom 2. I thought there could be an upset here. I wasn't sure. However, it didn't happen. Songs from the Wood came 2nd. Strong outing for me. I love this album. I think it's an amazing album. Came 2nd here. Easily came 2nd. Beat the other 2 out fairly handily. And didn't really challenge the top album, which, again, is Pieces of Eight from Styx. Still my favorite album. I wasn't sure that it was going to win this thing, but I figured it had to be one of the favorites because it was number one to begin with. I still love it. It easily won this too. It just didn't have any problem with the other albums. I thought it had a great listening to all three sessions. And it reinvigorated me, this album, that it's still the masterpiece that I believe it has always been for me, and still my favorite album. So Pieces of Eight is going to win this. I hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been fun putting it on. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. I thought maybe it'll just go the way it is, the way I've always had it, but there's some surprises here. So I will put out a top 25 either next week or the week after of my 25 favorite rock albums of all time. I have to look over my list to kind of see how this is going to readjust everything. Obviously, the three albums that finished second, third, and fourth may not necessarily be second, third, and fourth favorites, because it depends on what their competition was before that, how they did against that competition. That kind of stuff all has to be taken into consideration. So I will put out my top 25 in a couple weeks, but for now, Pieces of Eight wins it, comes in here at number 1, and then number 2 for the finals was Songs from the Wood. Number 3, Fly By Night, and number 4, not last but definitely not a least album, Styx's Equinox. And that's how it's going to end up for me. Now you can all, of course, put these in any order you want. Some people might not even consider these their 4 favorite albums, and obviously it probably wouldn't be that way because everybody's different and hears things different. These are my 4 favorite. You can put how you want to rank them in the ranking thing below, or you can make comments about any of the albums or groups or anything I've done here. I hope you've enjoyed this. It was meant purely as entertainment and purely as me trying to see if my nostalgic view of my albums still holds water. And I think ultimately it holds some water, but maybe not as much as I originally thought. Anyways, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. We will see you throughout the weekend. I have another episode to do later, and this will come out a little bit later than normal because I was out yard sailing and got caught up with going to the grocery store as well, and got back a little later than I thought. Anyways, I hope to see you all throughout the week, so please have yourself a good day, good evening, and goodbye here from Prog Monster. Take care.